Good morning, everybody, and happy Saturday. My name is Michelle Kristoff, and I am with Olive Two Ewe Studios, coming at you live from my home studio in Maine. I'm typically here every single Saturday, usually live, sometimes recorded. And if you're watching live, welcome, welcome. I'm so happy to see a bunch of the Yarny Ewes here this morning. I see Jen here and Kim here and Dion and Valera and Katrin and Deborah and Julie and others are coming in, Michelle and Lydia. So many others. So welcome to you. But if you happen to be watching after the live and watching at your leisure, welcome to you as well. That's one of the beautiful things about YouTube is that you can watch it whenever you want. 2 a.m. in the morning, no problem. I'll be snoozing in my bed, but you'll be watching me on the screen and learning about all the awesome things at Olive Two Ewe Studios and in the Yarny Ewes Facebook group. So welcome to everybody. So happy to see you here this morning. If you haven't already done so, I invite you to go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to hit the bell because a lot of people like, I'm subscribed, but I didn't get the notification. You got to hit the bell. Hit the bell, and then you should get an email or other sort of notification to let you know that I'm live on the channel. And you never know when I might pop on here. You just never know. I'm a little unpredictable that way. So a couple of things this morning before we really jump into everything, I want to let you know. So it's been a little warmer here. Yesterday, it got up to 83 degrees where I am in Southwest Maine, I guess you could say. But today and the rest of the week, it's going to, well, the rest of the coming week, it's going to be in the 50s, it looks like. And so it was actually a little warm up here this morning from the residual temperature from yesterday. So my window is open right next to me, and I have been enjoying the serenade of all the beautiful birds in the forest right outside my window. And by right outside my window, I mean, oh, I don't know. I'm not a good judge of distance. I would guess maybe 5 yards out of my window. And it's green and lush and beautiful. In fact, we did some video this week of driving down the road, approaching our little private road to come to the house. And I hope to get that posted for you so you can see all the beautiful spring greens, because we're knitters and we're crocheters and we're quilters and we love color. So how fun is it to see all of the beautiful spring greens kind of making their emergence into the landscape for the spring season? So I say that to say you might hear some residual bird song as well. I don't know what my mic will pick up, but how lovely would that be? I think that would be awesome. Tara's here. Oh, Tara says it's 83 degrees in Florida right now. Yeah, and I read that Florida is just about to have a massive heat wave, which I got to tell you, I'm not sorry to be missing that. Not sorry to be missing that. Now, you may want to ask me come January how I'm feeling about missing the heat wave, but I think I'll be all right. We'll see. Y'all know I'm super transparent, and I'll tell you how I'm feeling. In fact, a little later today in the podcast, we're going to get to a big scary thing that happened to me that I'm going to be vulnerable and share with you. I'm going to share with you some things you maybe didn't know about me, maybe some things I didn't know about myself until the big scary thing happened. But we'll get to that in just a little bit. First of all, I know that these colorways have been long anticipated. So I am so happy to have been able to reveal the May colorways for our 2025 Cancer Awareness Series. Now, I don't have any of them live to show you. They just barely got it to the shop in Winter Park this week. But I did do a little something and make you some little slides so that you can see. So We Fight, We Conquer is the Maine 100-gram colorway this week that's newly released for our 2025 Cancer Awareness Series. And it is beautiful. It is an amalgamation of the colors that make up all of the cancers focused on by the American Cancer Society this month. We are kind of limiting our focus this month to skin cancers and melanoma, which melanoma is also a skin cancer, and then also bladder and brain cancer. So this colorway is an amalgamation of those and any other colors that may have been designated for the ribbons of any other cancers that are the focus of the American Cancer Association this month. There are some months that have as many as 8 and 9 cancers, and we simply can't do all of those. But Sherry and Terry, who dye up our beautiful colorways for Olive Two Ewe Studios, they are the exclusive dyer behind the Olive Two Ewe Studios brand. They work really hard to incorporate all of those colors. This is We Fight, We Conquer. I love that name. All of the names have been very strong and speak to the courage of both the patient, well, actually more than both, the patients, the caregivers, and the physicians who treat folks with cancer. So we're keeping up that strong and positive attitude. And then in keeping custom, what they've also done is dyed up some minis that coordinate perfectly with the main colorway. There's actually a variegated in here this week. So you've got Gray Matters for brain cancer. You've got Block It Out for, let's see, for, my mind just went completely blank. See, I can be so ultimately transparent for skin and melanoma, because melanoma is often black. And then you've also got, and this is such a fun play on words, you're in for a fight for bladder cancer. So you're in for a fight, Block It Out, and Gray Matters, highlighting each of those individual cancers. And you can see right here the black stitch marker that you'll receive. It's an acrylic stitch marker with your 100-gram hank purchase. So every purchase of a 100-gram hank comes complete with a coordinating stitch marker for the main cancer that the focus is for that month. This month it was skin and melanoma. So it's a black stitch marker. And all the month stitch markers are created for you by Ann Michael of Twin Mommy Creations. Many of you know her and love her. She's a wonderful maker. And then you also receive a little card each month with your purchase of your 100-gram skein that gives you a QR code so you can scan it to get to our page to show that explains more details about the cancer, and then a little blurb about the cancers for that month. So it's kind of a collectible thing. And then also 25% of the profits of the sales of the large 100-gram hanks are donated to a foundation or a specific organization helping people in the fight for those cancers, supporting either their fight or research for those cancers. So We Fight, We Conquer is the big one this week. And then you've got the smaller minis as well. And you all are apparently, not only was I getting emails and text messages like, when are the May colorways coming out? But as soon, I think like 6 minutes, I think I looked at my watch, 6 minutes after I put them online, like made them live, didn't post about it, just made them live. The Yarn of Ewes are always like stalking the website. I love that. And they were already being purchased. So those will ship out to you on Monday. Monica will get those in the mail to you. So that is the really, really, really big news today in the shop, the brand new colorways. And I'll tell you, some of the colorways recently would also go really nice with those. So you're never at a loss for choosing colors in the shop for whatever project you have in mind. So that's really cool. Now, you may recall, I told you a little while ago, it may have been in the Yarn of Ewes. I go live in there periodically for a little more informal chats. Let's face it, anytime I talk, it's informal. But sometimes I share a little extra information in there. And Nancy Victorino and I, mostly Nancy Victorino, has been working on an amazing pattern that's going to be available for you to put to use all of these cancer colorways. And it's not just a pattern. This is what I love about working with Nancy and some of the other designers that I'm fortunate to have relationships with, is we're able to talk and collaborate and come up with something that's really meaningful. So this pattern will be released more towards the end of the year, frankly, because it's taking a little more time to do, because we're making it a very robust experience. And you're going to want to be in on it. So I recommend that you go ahead and start collecting your colorways now so that you'll have them. But one of the neat things about this particular pattern is that, like I said, it's not just going to be a pattern. It's going to be a way for you to actually sort of memorialize or journal in yarn or tell the story of either your experience or your family's experience or your friend's experience with cancer. And you can do all of their experiences in this one particular pattern. And we've got some really interesting and I think innovative ways to make it really special and meaningful for you. Of course, you'll have to be the judge on that. But I believe that this collaboration with Nancy is going to turn out to be really amazing, to provide an avenue for people to tell their stories and share how cancer has touched their lives and the lives of those that they love. So you want to be collecting your colorways, maybe all in the same base or at least the same weight. You know, we offer these colorways in DK and fingering weight and a couple of different bases. So we're going to figure out a way to let you maybe circle back and fill in some holes if you haven't gone ahead and purchased them all. I'm not a very good marketer. I shouldn't have told you that, but I just want you to be aware that that's going to be available to you. But I recommend that you go ahead and snag your colorways as they come out each month. Keep your collection, because very soon I'm going to be providing to you kind of a little bit of a beginning of a planning sheet. And we're going to provide you a few little ways to plan along the way to get ready to actually stitch up that blanket. And it's going to be a great pattern because you're going to have a chance to also practice or learn some new techniques. So I'm telling y'all, Nancy's awesome. It's going to be a very robust pattern and you don't want to miss it. And it's a way to share the stories. I'll be honest, when Sherry and Terry brought this idea to me, and it was born from Sherry and Terry, and we talked about it and collaborated on it, we had no idea that the 2025 Cancer Awareness Series would kind of come to be on a life of its own. It's been really meaningful to people. And in fact, we've got some new Yarny U's in the group now who came to us through those colorways and through that series. So I'm always grateful for how the Yarny U's are always so welcoming to everybody. But it kind of took on a life of its own. And that's what we were, I don't think we ever expected that to happen, but you always hope that we'll touch somebody in a meaningful way. Y'all, it's not just about yarn, and it's not just about a business. It's about hoping to help community form and help people to make connections and provide ways to stitch that are meaningful in our lives and mean something to us. So we'll be sharing more details with you as we get closer to that pattern release. Look for it more towards the end of the year, so you've got some time to plan, and we're going to help you plan along the way. So I'm very excited about that. I've got somebody, a good friend of mine in my life right now, whose dad has been touched by skin cancer and is in the process of addressing a new skin cancer. And I've known people who've had family members my own mother dealt with bladder cancer many, many, many years ago, before I was even born. And so these cancers really impact a lot of folks. So grateful for the Yarny U's and everything that you guys provide. But as a segue, let's talk about the Bamboo Shoots knit along, because Nancy Victorino of Knitwise TE also designed that pattern. And I have to tell you, so many of you have posted in the Yarny U's and other places and said, what a great pattern it is. Let me know in the comments if you're loving the Bamboo Shoots knit along. I know many of you are, and I've seen some people finish it up. I think Cheryl Guin may have finished hers. Julie Garland might be on the cusp if she hasn't already finished hers. And I know that Nancy herself had ordered another kit. And when I met with her yesterday, she was kind of getting down to the bottom of her pattern too on this next set of colorways. So that is really, really fun. Next week is the wrap up of the Bamboo Shoots knit along. So we'll be prizes next week, but it's not too late. Keep posting your progress pics. One of the neat things that I think we do in the Yarny U's and at Olive Two Ewe Studios is we don't require FOs, because y'all know me, you know me. And if we required FOs, I'm not eligible anyway, but I would never be eligible for anything. I do finish things occasionally, but I'm a much better starter than I am a finisher. So we don't require a finished object or an FO to be eligible for prizes. You just need to use Olive Two Ewe yarn, and you need to post your project pics in the official thread in the Yarny U's. Now, that said, we also provided a bonus way this time to win a prize. And that is, if you use Ravelry, and I know many of you don't, and that's absolutely your prerogative. But if you use Ravelry, you can create a project page. Put your project up there, Bamboo Shoots the Bamboo Shoots pattern. Tag Nancy, Knitwise TE, tag the Olive Two Ewe yarn that you use, and you get a bonus opportunity to win. We'll randomly select a winner from those who create project pages for that. So that's going to be a lot of fun. You've got one more week to get those in, and I know y'all can do it. Come on. And it's not too late to start. If you kind of are late on the Bamboo Shoots train, there's a whole week to get on the train. Like, toot, toot, the train has not left the station. So all you need to do is get your yarn together. You can even still order a kit. We'll get it out to you. And if all you do is post, these are my colorways, in the official thread, then you too are eligible to win a prize, because it's randomly selected. That's why the more pics you post, the more likely you are to win. So the Bamboo Shoots knit along will be closing out next Saturday. But I'm super, super excited about seeing all of the projects. I didn't do one, I'm ashamed to say, but I do hope to do one in the future, because I think it's a cool pattern. But with my move to Maine and everything, it just wasn't, let's face it, nothing's on my needles right now. I still got my sweater yarn over here, like begging me to get on the needles. It will. I'm hoping this weekend. So, but soon I'll be knitting away again. So the Bamboo Shoots is a great scarf. You get to learn some new skills. It's not a hard thing. It's great for, somewhat confident beginners, but you don't have to be all that confident. And it's a great pattern. And Nancy made it very clear with tutorials in the pattern. So enough said about that. I'm super excited about it. Super excited about working with her again on the pattern for the Cancer Colorways. Nancy is the president of the Bay Area Knitting Guild, and she is a beloved member of the Yarn You. She and her husband Vince traveled with us to Scotland last year, and got to know her a little bit better, which was awesome. So Fiberside chats, you guys might remember I was crowing a little bit about the Yarn U's last week and how you guys have showed up and made us a top shop for those who register for it. Well, you don't want to miss the presentation tomorrow. Ann Budd is the presenter with the Fiberside chats tomorrow. And I believe it's at 1 p.m. Eastern time. All the information is in your newsletter. You can go ahead and register. When you register, please do select Olive Two Ewe Studios from the drop-down menu. That actually helps us immensely. It is a huge, huge support for us, and we really, really appreciate it. But what's really cool, Ann Budd is always fun to listen to. She does a lot about socks. She does a lot about sweaters. She's very knowledgeable and has been in the industry for many, many years. She's going to be sharing about sweater design and those sorts of things, sweater construction, and how that impacts design. If you want to be a sweater knitter, maybe you've never knit a sweater, or even if you're a seasoned sweater knitter, I think the information is very beneficial. I recommend that you sign up. It's $20. If you can't watch it live, it's recorded, and then they will email the recording to you after the event, and you have up to a week to watch it at your leisure. The really cool thing about what Ann is doing tomorrow, though, is she's also sharing with you her brand new pattern that she's just designed for the Longest Day, which is a fundraiser for Alzheimer's and dementia research. And so I think that would be awesome to hear about her design process, see the pattern, and get involved in that. You know, my own mother had dementia of some ilk before she passed away. And so again, that's another thing that's affected many people, and putting your knitting skills to use is a way that you can impact that, which I think is really awesome. So the event is tomorrow. I was a little late getting this out. I'm getting back on schedule. It's taking a little bit of time, but the event is tomorrow. So you want to go ahead and get registered today. I think you can register up to 2 hours before the event, but why do you want to push it? Like, don't do that. Because if you're like me, I'd be like, oh yeah, I'll register when I leave church tomorrow, and then I'd forget. And that's no good for anybody, because that recording is only available to those who register in advance. You can't like hop on the Fiberside chat train, unlike the Bamboo Shoots knit along train. You can't hop on the Fiberside chats train later. You have to do it at a certain time. So if you haven't already registered for that, I recommend it. Let me know in the comments if you're here live, if you have registered, and or if you're gonna like use your second device. I always recommend you watch the podcast with 2 devices. You can go ahead and get registered right now. Open up your newsletter. The link is in there, which will be really, really cool. So there's a fun event happening here in Maine, May 31st to June 1st. And I'm going, wah, wah. I'm so excited. I didn't even know it was a thing, like until just before we moved and I heard about it. The Maine Fiber Frolic is happening at the Windsor Fairgrounds, which I think is right outside of Augusta, May 31st to June 1st. And they have got quite the extensive list of vendors. Can I just tell you, I'm just very excited. Everything from, sheep to sweater kinds of things. I think there's going to be animals there. There's going to be indie dyers there. There's going to be all kinds of things going on there. And yours truly plans to go. So I'll take a little footage while I'm there, and I will try to go live also if you're interested. Of course, my lives typically are in the Yarn U's when I do that. So if you haven't already joined the Yarn U's Facebook group, I really, really, really recommend you go ahead and do it. The link is actually down below in the show notes. It is a super supportive group of people. Many of them are here right now live. There is no politics, literally, and no drama. Ask the Yarn U's and they will tell you. And we've got Yarn U's on both ends of the political spectrum, and they might go at it on their private Facebook pages, but nobody brings it into the Yarn U's. And I'm so grateful for that oasis. So there's no politics, no drama. And I tell people this all the time. I'm not sure anybody believes me, but it's true. I think probably, let's see, we'll be in business 8 years in July. And I think I've probably only had to moderate or remove 5 comments in that time because they were like some kind of vague political statement. And the people who did it were typically people who were brand new and didn't pay attention to the rules, which says a lot about the community here and the Yarn Use. So, and it's funny because we'll be at like fiber events or things like that, and I'll invite people to join and I'll say, there's no drama, no politics. And people are like, yeah, okay, sure. And then y'all heard me say this before if you've been around. Then they'll come to me or email me later and go, oh my gosh, I didn't really believe you, but you were right. Like, what a supportive, awesome group of people. And you all, the Yarn Use, get all the credit for that. So if you haven't already joined, I really, really invite you to join. But I'm looking forward to going to the Maine Fiber Frolic. I can't wait. It's going to be a fun day. We'll see if Jim's going to go with me or not. It might just be me tooling up the highway to head up there. But I'm super excited about going to the Maine Fiber Frolic. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So let me know in the comments if you've ever been to the Maine Fiber Frolic, and if you've got like tips and tricks or things that I need to know, like about parking or the best food vendors. I'm always up for some good food, or anything like that. Please do let me know. I'm interested. And then who knows, if I figure out it's a great event, which I'm sure it's going to be, then maybe next year we'll do a little retreat about getting you all to the Maine Fiber Frolic. How would you feel about that? You want to come up to Maine and go to an event with me? I think that'd be fun. So we'll see how that goes. All right. Something fun about community. When I moved to Maine, it kind of disrupted everything. And I have alluded to this, but I'm going to tell you once again, y'all, this move kicked my behind. Like, this was harder than I thought it was going to be, actually. And I don't know if that's due to my age or just my personality or what it is, but it has definitely taken me a little bit longer to get back in the saddle, mostly because my studio was just in a shambles. Like, I had my computer up and the really basic things that I needed barely, but I can't think when my life is in chaos. Can y'all, is it just me? Is it my ADHD showing? Like, I don't know what it is, but I can't really think when everything is in complete and utter disarray. So I had a really hard time, like, getting back to things. I was doing things that were necessary, obviously, and working, but not all of the other things that I love to do. And I'm really happy to say that I'm definitely getting back in the saddle. I spent a good amount of time yesterday here in the studio. My Yarn Swift and my winder is now up. I'm so happy about that. And I've got my printing station and all of that set up, getting my sewing machine set up, going to get Matilda unpacked soon, my circular sock machine, and get started with her again. So it's starting to come together. One of the coolest things, and I'm just going to kind of share a little bit here, is, when I made this move and decided to make this move, we assured everybody that nothing would really change. Monica is still our operations officer in Winter Park, Florida. She's still manning Needleworks. She handles all of the shipping and the post office and things like that. And nothing really has changed. She and I made a plan before I made the move that we would continue to work just like we always have. And this week we really got back to doing that, which means usually at Needleworks, I was doing a lot of computer work because contrary to what Instagram might have you believe, owning a yarn business is not all about sitting around and knitting. It's about a lot of computer work. So often at Needleworks, she would be shipping or doing inventory or doing things of that nature, and I'd be sitting on the computer doing computer work. Well, we are doing that now, and we're doing it live on camera. So we even have the same type of relationship we did before. We just happen to be on camera with each other. And sometimes we're chatting or asking questions of each other. Sometimes it's like, hey, I got to scoot out for 5 minutes. I got to run to the bathroom, or I got to run to go get a drink. Or yesterday she sneezed a couple times and I was on the opposite side of my studio. I wasn't even technically on camera, but the camera was running and I was able to say, bless you. So I was like, this is really cool, because it's nice to have somebody to still work with in the studio, even though my studio is, I don't know, 1,700 miles away, 1,800 miles away, maybe from Central Florida. So I think that's really cool. Now, that said, Monica is doing all the same things that she used to do. What Monica is not doing is customer service. I'm still managing all the customer service. So while she has an email address, we're not actually publishing that just yet because I'm still your go-to for customer service. Even if you want to make an appointment to go up to Needleworks and squish some yarn or put some colorways together or purchase some things in person, just let me know and I'll reach out to Monica. We'll get it scheduled. I did that this past week, I think it was, for Urine You. And you are more than welcome to head up to Needleworks. Just talk to me. We'll get it on the calendar and we're set to go. One of the things that wasn't exactly in the deal was for her to take over customer service. And Monica's awesome and is very capable of that. Don't get me wrong. But I like talking to my Yarn Use. I like talking to my customers. So all of your customer service needs will still go through moi. Yours truly, for better or worse, I'm what you got. So you can always email me at Michelle, Michelle, at olive2ewe.com. That's OLIVE, the letter N, TWOEWE.com, or info@olive2ewe.com. Or you can just go to the website. There's a contact us now button. I think it says you can click that and also get a message to us. But Monica's there. She's the one doing all the orders. She's doing a fantastic job. And we're still working together, which I love. I need to find out like how prevalent that is. I know that people work from home and people do Zoom meetings and stuff, but I'm curious, do you think that's done that much? I think it's a little innovative that we're on camera. We may not be talking the whole time, but we leave our cameras running and we're both working. She's in and out of the shipping room. She's in and out of the main studio to get the yarn. I think it's kind of cool. And it helps us stay connected, which I think is awesome. Awesome. That said, another part of our team are Sherry and Terry of Lonesome Pine Yarn Works, and Andrea, Sherry's stepdaughter, George's daughter, was recently diagnosed with a very aggressive form of cancer. Here we are again, back at the home of cancer. And I did post, I don't normally do this, but they do have it's not GoFundMe, but it's a similar platform asking for help because they've actually had to rent a home close to UVA where her treatments are occurring, but they maintain a home in Virginia, in Big Stone Gap, Virginia. And there's a lot of additional expenses because they are part of the Olive Two Ewe family directly. I went ahead and posted that link. If you want to donate to them directly, you can absolutely do that. It is a featured post in the Yarn Use. That said, one of the other ways that you can benefit them is to continue to purchase the yarn that they dye through Olive Two Ewe Studios, because that keeps their business going. And they are both still working in many, many ways. But Terry is kind of the one back doing a lot of the dyeing right now, but they're still collaborating but using both of their genius brains to come up with colorways and all of that. So, which is really, really awesome. So keep their business going. Sorry, there's a little noise in the studio right now. I've got a little interloper over here doing some work apparently. Purchasing the colorways through Olive Two Ewe to keep their business going, and or if you decide to donate directly, you can absolutely do that as well. And that post is in the Yarn Use, which is really, really a neat thing to do. So our Zoom knit nights are coming back. Yay! Everybody's been asking. They start back this Wednesday. So they are the first and third Wednesday of each month from 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern time. And I'm just going to say Eastern time. I'm not going to get caught up in the whole, y'all who've been around a while know the whole EDT versus EST controversy. I'm just going to not be here for that. Eastern time, whatever it is, 7 to 8:30 p.m. It will be on Zoom as usual. It's our virtual knit, crochet, spin, and weave in. We usually have anywhere from, 8 to 20 people. It varies widely, but it's a chance for us to kind of connect with the community, see what everybody's working on, hear what's going on. We get great pattern ideas, see different colors used in patterns, and it really helps to kind of inspire the senses. So there'll be a midweek newsletter on Wednesday morning giving you that Zoom link and some additional details about tuning in for that, as well as I typically also post the link in the Yarn Use as a featured post on Wednesdays, usually by about noon or 1 o'clock. So you can look forward to that event this Wednesday. I know a couple of you've said, yes, I want to get in on that, but I don't really know how to Zoom. Let me know. I know I'm meeting with one person this week to kind of get her up to speed on Zooming, and I can absolutely get you to dive right in so you'll be all ready for our Zoom virtual knit, crochet, spin, and weave in on Wednesday night. And I know this has been long anticipated, and up till now, I really wasn't ready to put it on my schedule because I've been doing all the things, but it's happening. Things are getting back. I had 3 or 4 business calls yesterday. I was on calls for several hours. Becky with Nomadic Knits, she and I met, of course, Nancy Victorino, and then some other folks. And it was a great day of kind of making those connections again and talking about collaborations. We've got more collaborations coming up that I'm really excited about. So all the things. Now, another way that you can win a prize besides the Bamboo Shoots knit along, speaking of community, is we decided to do something a little fun. So everything we do is fun because the Yarn Use make it fun, right? I think I misspoke there. It's always fun. One of the things that we're going to do is if you're part of one of our subscriptions, our Soxy U, our Salinger Pop Club, or maybe you get one of our special boxes like our Goodbye Florida, Hello Maine box, or a special box, or even just a nice shipment, we're going to start doing some random prizes for unboxing videos. So if you unbox your goodies on Instagram or on Facebook and you tag Olive Two Ewe Studios, I'll put all these details in the Yarn Use for you as well. You tag Olive Two Ewe Studios and also use a special hashtag that I'm going to give you, then you'll be eligible for a prize. We'll do random prizes for people who post. So the more you post, the more chances you get to win. So we want to see you unbox your goodies from Olive Two Ewe, and we want your friends to see it. So posting it on your Instagram channel, on your personal Facebook page, or even in some of your knitting and crochet groups online that will allow you to do that. And most of them will, as long as you're not directly promoting, then that would be greatly appreciated. It helps to get the word out about Olive Two Ewe Studios. And we really, really appreciate that. So look for more details about that coming around. I'm looking forward to giving some prizes. And I'm also looking forward to doing some fun things from my studio here because I've got some yarn here. There's yarn. Who knows? And I've got stuff to ship things. So I might do some random fun things from the studio here as well. So I say all that to say things are hopping back more and more at Olive Two Ewe Studios, which I'm excited about. But the move to Maine has definitely been interesting. One of the fun things that I've been doing is as I've been going through boxes in the studio and kind of unpacking things, I think last week I showed you a big block of a quilt that I had been working on for quite some time. Because again, Michelle's really good at starting things, but I will finish it. I absolutely will. That Advent quilt. But I'm finding bits and bobs of previous projects, some of which are knit, some of which are crochet, and some of which have to do with sewing. And I found myself some little of my English paper piecing items here. You might remember we did the slow stitching series this past year. Well, it ran into this year as well with Mary Nielsen as the instructor, and everybody got a kit every month. And then we did these instructions and stuff. I had done some English paper piecing even prior to that. So can y'all tell what my colors are? Like, this was not intentionally coordinated this morning. That's just the colors that I gravitate towards. I don't know why. I don't even wear orange well. We've had this conversation, haven't we, Yarn Use? But I know many of you love orange, and I love it too. So this was just a couple of my little English paper pieces that kind of got together that I had somehow kind of connected a couple of them. It looks like, I guess I connected these two, and was working on connecting these other two, maybe to make a coaster or something fun. But there it is. I'm finding all the bits and bobs in the shop, which is kind of interesting. And then, so the big scary thing, I spoke on Thursday in the Yarn Use. I'm curious, what do you think the big scary thing was? I had a couple people reach out to me with their guesses. Tell me in the comments if you're watching live or even if you're watching later, what do you think the big scary thing was? I'm going to give you a minute to do that while I take a sip or maybe a couple sips. And then after we talk about the big scary thing, I've got a couple just kind of thoughtful reflections on things that have happened here since I've been in Maine that have kind of bridged between where I was in Florida. You know, it has been a crazy like 8 months now. There's been so much transition and change in my life. And even prior to that, my mom had passed away. This January was a year ago. And that was a big transition in my life and changed me for the better. Not that I'm glad that she passed by any stretch. And I've really dealt with some kind of residual grief when I was packing up my house and then unpacking here because seeing all of the things. So I'm going to talk about that in a little bit and show you kind of a happy memory in a moment. Okay, y'all think it's a bear. Wow, that is like unanimous that it's a bear because I told you it wasn't a moose, right? Like loose lips sink ships, and I told you it wasn't a moose. It was not a bear. So one of the things that several people told us about before we moved to Maine was, all right, so there's moose, there's bear. Like, are you crazy? It's really cold in the winter. Like, what are you people thinking moving from Florida to Maine? It's freezing cold. And we're like, yeah, we got it. And they told us about black flies and they told us about ticks. Well, I've never really encountered ticks. It was a tick, but I'm going to tell you the story and I'm going to be really vulnerable with you guys. So don't hate me. I have never really encountered ticks in my life. Our dogs do oral tick medication, flea and tick medication. They've never had an issue with fleas or ticks. I didn't even know that ticks were a thing in Florida. I'm not sure they're much of a thing in Florida. I never really encountered ticks, so I didn't know much about them, but I knew they were pretty disgusting little creatures. And I know there are some Yarny Ewes, Martha, I'm looking at you and some others who live here in Maine who have written to me and said, oh, you want to be aware. You want to be tick aware and take care of the ticks. So, okay, there's ticks. I wasn't planning on doing any major hikes in the woods in the spring or summer. Like I like going for walks, but I knew that the woods are where the ticks were. And there's all kinds of ticks. There's deer ticks and dog ticks and all the ticks. And I was like, yeah, I'll be fine. Like I'm going to be in my house most of the time and out in town and knitting and doing fun things. I'm not going to have ain't no time for ticks in my life. Well, even though the dogs are on oral medications, the ticks have to bite the dog to die, which means the dogs can bring ticks in the house. And it turns out people contract ticks in the house. They're disgusting little creatures. Can I just tell you that? And I was terrified. Well, our friends Jan and Greg, who were here helping us out, are really outdoor people. And they were like, okay, here's what you do. It's nothing to be afraid of. You just need to be aware and watch yourself. And then the other day, we saw a couple in the house and we got rid of them. Like, you don't really kill them. Like, they don't crush well. You need to like pick them up and put them outside or flush them down the toilet, which is what we've been doing. So the dogs sleep with us because there are dogs. We're like pack animals. They've always slept with us. And the other night I was like, you know, like this is kind of weird having the dogs sleep next to us. Like we did tick checks and looked at them and everything, but they're black dogs. And, but we did our due diligence, checked them out, but we were laying in bed the other night. And I was like, you know, I kept talking to Cooper and calling him the tick monster, which I don't think he appreciated very much. And I was doing it kind of half-heartedly. Anyway, yes, I can drag a story out forever. Anyway, I was laying in bed and I was half asleep, and just kind of as a comfort measure, my hand goes like to my legs, right? And I felt something on my leg, but I was half asleep. And so I like pulled it off. I thought it was like a little scab or something weird. And between the time that I pulled it off and the time that I got my hand up to my face, I woke up and was like, oh my God, I hope it's not a tick. Told you know who to turn the lights on, our little friend Alexa. And I had half a tick in my hand. I freaked out. I'm going to say that on YouTube. I behaved like a 3-year-old, y'all. I absolutely flipped out because number one, I knew that wasn't the way to remove a tick, but I was asleep. I didn't know what I was doing and I had no idea it could be a tick. Didn't know what a tick felt like. Number two, you know, I had half the tick here. So the head and the mouth parts were still in my leg. I looked down and it was bloody. And I was ultimately disgusted flipped out, couldn't even speak. Jim was like, "Where's the tick kit? Where's the tick kit?" I'm like, it's in the like that's literally how it was talking. My brain could not make my mouth tell him where the tick kit was. I started crying. Like I don't think I would have reacted that way if it hadn't been like it was 11:30 at night. It wasn't the middle of the night, to be fair, but it was late and I was asleep. And you know how everything's worse at night? And I lost it. We sat up until 1:30 and I was like, I can't live in Maine. We have to go home. I can't live here. I can't live with ticks. I can't do this. He's like, take a breath. Everything's going to be okay. Jim was ultimately calm. And so we did the thing and, treated it and did everything. I finally fell asleep because I couldn't stay awake all night. Woke up the next morning, took the Band-Aid off, and the rest of the tick body was out, thankfully. And I've been treating it with alcohol and Neosporin and watching. I haven't had a rash or anything like that. So that was the big dreaded thing. And what is so weird about that is because how many times have I said Jim was the tick magnet? Like that was the first one that I had seen on me. And it was attached. Yuck. Like I can't even say the word vein and not get the willies, much less a tick that's attaching its body to me. So it's just so ironic. And I was like, well, it was bound to happen. It happened. And hopefully, if and when it happens again, and it probably will, I will react a little better and not like a 3-year-old. I'm usually pretty composed, but I was totally out of it. I was like, so how do people live here? Like we have all kinds of sprays now. I've got more stuff coming. And I had called a company. We were number 140th on the list for this company to come treat our yard and treat our house. We're not like infested with ticks, y'all. Like, I don't know. We've seen like 4 or 5 in the house and we've gotten them. Of course, how many haven't we seen? But our furniture's light. And so we're mindfully looking for them. But I was like, I can't wait to be 140th on your list to come take care of my house and yard. And to be fair, our yard is right up against the woods. So yeah, there's like tick heaven out there that I'm looking at. Beautiful bird song and tick heaven. So I called another company that was highly rated, did some research. They came out the same day. I don't know if I sounded just that panicked or if they were just that good, but they came out the same day. They treated the yard, they treated the house, and they will be here every month during the season to treat the yard and the house. It was a tick, y'all. It was an itty bitty tiny tick. Wasn't a mama bear, wasn't a snake, wasn't a big old beautiful but frightening moose. Excuse me. It was an itsy bitsy tiny tick. Since then, I spoke to a friend of mine, I don't want to mention her name, and found out that she almost died from Lyme disease many years ago. And when I told her the story, she was like, okay. So I said, but we know what to do. And she's like, tell me what you know to do. So I told her and she's like, and I said, which part of that do you want to correct? She's like, all of it. All of it. It's not right. Never smother them. Never put Vicks Vapor Rub on them or Vaseline because they regurgitate, which introduces more bacteria into your body. I'm not a medical professional. I'm not giving medical advice. Please do not sue me. I'm just telling you my experience and my conversation. Disclaimer. But she said, and I've read about it, and she's absolutely right. That is true. You don't want that to happen. You want to remove them with tweezers. I hope Jim never gets one because I'm going to have to muster everything inside of me to take care of it. And yeah. Anyway, so she was sick for even though she had early antibiotics, she was on antibiotics, heavy doses for months afterwards. And now you can get that. I think it's alpha-gal. It's a meat allergy. Anyway, so I have completely terrified myself about ticks. So we're being ridiculously diligent now about ticks. It was a tick. It was a little tiny tick, but it's all going to be okay. So there you go. What do you think? Are you surprised? Are you surprised I flipped out? Maybe I should have been knitting. Maybe I should just knit all the time, be in my Zen space so the ticks don't bother me. I don't know. What do you think? I don't know. And my friend who had Lyme disease for so long didn't know she was actively being bit. I don't know if it's true or not a medical professional. I read that they really need to be attached to you for 24 to 36 hours to really transmit all those awful diseases. I'm like, how can you not know there's a tick on you? But she didn't. She got up one morning and found a dead engorged tick in her bed. Lady said, oh, the dreaded tick. When we go to Scotland, remind me to tell you the story of me and the ticks and where I finally found it and how big it was. Oh, I don't want to know, Lady. I don't want to know. I don't want to know. They are bad. They're much earlier. And the guy told me from the pest control company that they are doubling in population every year. I'm like, okay, that would have been good to know. I still don't regret moving to Maine. We love Maine, but it's one of those things. Now, I was talking to a friend of mine who used to live in Maine, and she laughed at me kindly. She's a good friend. She loves me, but she's like, I'm afraid of salamanders. No, not salamanders, geckos. And I was like, seriously, a gecko? Gecko doesn't suck your blood. But you know what? It just goes to show in our community, we've all got different fears. It's how it goes. And mine is a tick. And yes, some of them are tiny, tiny microscopic size ticks. The good news is they will reproduce, but they're not like fleas. Like you got 3 fleas and you wake up the next day and you've got 4 million. It's not quite like that. A tick inspired colorway. Y'all gonna buy a tick inspired colorway if I get them to dye one? Tell me in the comments. You gonna do it? You gonna do it? Should we do it? Should we do a tick inspired colorway? I don't know. I'm kind of leaning towards it. It could be fun. Y'all know we memorialize all the things. We memorialize all the things in the yarn I use. And so hurricanes, trolls crashing our podcast, we memorialize all the things. So maybe we'll do a tick colorway. Why not? Why not do it? I'll talk to Sherry and Terry and see what they say. They got a lot on their plate right now, but I'll see what they say about the tick colorway. So on to other reflections. I know this really doesn't have anything to do with yarn, but I wanted to share it anyway, because so many of you have been with me through the journey that has been my life the last little over a year, really, if we include my mom's passing. I'm going to show you a couple of pictures really quick. So this was my mom about a year before she passed. And she did love her cake. She was really fond of the hummingbird cakes that I made for her. And she loved the pound cakes that I made that are my grandmother's recipe. And many of you have had some of the pound cake. I take no credit for it. I bake it, but I'm simply channeling my grandmother when I do it. I know the recipe by heart. Oops. I can get one in the oven in about 20 minutes flat. And I love the pound cakes. And my mom always loved the fact that I was using things that were hers or that were my grandmother's, and that I was baking my grandmother's recipe. Well, right before we moved my mom out of her home into assisted living, when we were closing out her house, I was like, where is my grandmother? Where's her cake tin? My grandmother, we didn't call her grandma. My one grandmother was grandma. My other one was mom, because when apparently us kids were born, she decided she's too young to have grandkids. So she made us call her mom. So where's mom's cake, pan that she made those awesome pound cakes in? And she had a cake pan that she made them in. Then she had a cake keeper, one of those old timey, like from the 30s, tin cake keepers. And mom's like, oh God, I gave that cake pan away years ago to the neighbor. I'm like, you did what? Like, what? She's like, you weren't into baking and cooking then. What? I gave it away. But then when we were combing through her cupboards, I found the cake pan. And it's not even a cake pan. It's an old soup pot with like an angel food cake insert in it. And it's a heavy soup pot. And that's what I make the cakes in. So when we got up here, there were so many people that were kind to us. Our neighbor Dodie, the FedEx guy who's been bringing a bunch of heavy boxes to us, and just so many people, our realtor Ann, so many people who were kind to us. And so I've baked, I think, 6 cakes to give away. And it's interesting because one of the funny things is my mom was a dyed-in-the-wool Southerner, like born in Georgia, lived in Georgia for many years. In fact, my mom's family helped to settle Mount Vernon, Georgia. They are mentioned at the, what's the name of I can't think of the college. Bruton Parker, I think, is the name of the college. And there's a little museum there about the settling of Mount Vernon. And my mom's family is mentioned there and stuff. So me moving to Maine would not have been high on my mom's bingo card for me. And she probably would have had a little something to say about it, because my mama had something to say about a lot of things. I love my mom, but she was nothing if not an opinionated redhead. And So during the move and then being up here and unpacking things, and like I told you, I had a little grief that kind of bubbled up, and because I miss her, because she was my mom. And I was taking a much needed break the other day, sitting in the living room and casting my eyes into the kitchen. And you can kind of see the yard in the back and then the woods. And I love my kitchen window. And I'm going to show you this picture of what I was seeing. It's not a great picture in the kitchen window, but that was the kind of cake carrier that was also my grandmother's. And it might have been my great grandmother's. I feel like somewhere in my brain, it was my great grandmother's before it was my grandmother's. But it was, and I use that. I only transport cakes to people that I love and trust in that, because I have to have it back. And I also use a Depression era cake plate often when I do that. But that is a cake tin that has gotten some use up here as well. And I was just looking at that in the kitchen and thinking, I think my mom would be happy. I think my mom would be proud. And I think that she would be pleased that I was up here. Even though Maine is north of the Mason-Dixon line, I think that she would be happy and proud. So has nothing to do with yarn, but it's just a little personal reflection that I thought you might enjoy, because so many of you have been reaching out to see how I am. And I'm doing great, except for the ticks. Don't like the ticks. An update on Sadie, Julie is asking me for. So that was the other thing that happened this week that could also be categorized as a great big scary thing. We've got two dogs you might know, Sadie and Cooper. They are Dachshund mix rescues. We rescued them. They had been rescued twice before us. And in fact, at one of Cooper's foster homes, a 3-year-old broke his tail. And so they went back to the rescue, and then they came to us. And Cooper's y'all have heard me say this before, Cooper's very do-de-do, very laid back. Sadie has made the transition much better. Cooper's been a little more difficult. And so Sadie's very athletic. She's got longer legs. There is the house, and then there's a step, and then you step down into the garage, which is concrete, a big double garage. And that's how we've been taking them out back to go potties. And Sadie the other day decided, I'm a big girl, I'm athletic, and took a flying leap over the steps and landed in the garage on her chest and made a big yelp. I didn't see it. Jim was back there and saw it because he was getting ready to take them out. And she was walking fine, but when you touched her chest, and that's kind of how you pick up a doxy, or I do, to protect their back, and she would yelp. And so I was like really afraid that she had injured herself inside. So we watched her the first night. And it was kind of late in the afternoon. Like we didn't have a vet yet. We knew we needed to find a vet, but we didn't have one yet. Like that was down the list. Taking care of the ticks was higher on the list than finding a vet. Call me bad. And so we watched her. She was listless. She was lethargic. She ate, but she didn't want to drink unless I took it to her. And I said, I'm really afraid she's got internal injuries. And so the next day we called a vet. They couldn't see her. We called around multiple vets and was able to find a vet in Norway, Maine, just up the street, which incidentally is where our church is. We found a wonderful church here, Christ Episcopal in Norway, Maine. And so we found a vet. They got her right in. They were wonderful. And Sadie, in all of her pain, as soon as the vet walked in, she just knew that this woman was okay. And I think she knew that she was there to get help, because vets' offices all look kind of similar. And she went right to the woman, and she's got cracked ribs. She cracked her ribs. So they gave us medication. There's really not a lot, just like humans, there's not a lot to do for cracked ribs, but manage kind of the pain and then make sure that you rest. Well, Sadie's a really active dog. She doesn't understand you need to rest. So they gave her a really strong painkiller, and then another medication for inflammation. And the part of the point was not only to kill the pain and kill the inflammation, what was to make her sleep. And so she is sleeping. The pills are every 12 hours. She's sleeping about 10 hours each of those pill cycles. So she's only really awake about 4 hours a day, and she's eating and drinking now. And she's definitely feeling more like herself. But it's going to take somewhere between 6 to 10 weeks for her ribs to fully heal, is what I understand. So we're just watching her, taking care of her, pampering her a little bit. Cooper seems to know she's not well. He's pampering her also. And so, yeah, we've had a few challenges, but we're persevering, and I'm so excited. So many cool things are happening. Of course, the Maine Fiber Frolic, as I mentioned, I'll be doing I'll try to go live from there, but I'll definitely take some video and some pictures to post. And that's going to be a lot of fun. And then, of course, our trip to Scotland is happening September and October. And I'm looking so forward to that and seeing all of our vendors and our Yarn Use that are going. There is still some time I can get you in, but you got to let me know right away so we can get you caught up on your payments and get you caught up on your questions so I can get you set. But there's definitely still time. And there's plenty for non-knitters to do and non-crocheters to do as well. So bring a friend, y'all. There's still time. We're going to go to Kitchen Coos and Use and pet coos and groom them and have an awesome farmhouse tea there. We're going to do some fun knitting related, yarn related workshops. We're going to do some needle felting like the Scottish landscape. We're going to visit Wigton, the big book town in Scotland. We're going to be doing so many fun things. Laura, who was our tour guide this past year, is going to be our tour guide again. And we might even get Andy, the same driver. I know some of you who are watching are traveling with us for the second and third time. And you'll remember Andy from last time. I should post Andy's picture. And we're working on trying to get Andy. I can't guarantee that, but we're doing our level best. The request has been made internally to CIE, so they're working on it. It's going to be such a fun trip. So if you were on the fence, now's the time to get there. It is, I was going to say it's a once in a lifetime trip. It's not, because there are people who are traveling with us for the third time. It is, but if you only go once, this is the trip to do, because we take you to the non-touristy areas of Scotland for the most part. And you get into a private Facebook group where we share things, and we'll be giving more information out as that trip gets closer. And we really try to provide a robust experience, a comprehensive experience for those who do the Yarn Use trip. So if there's still time, we can get you in, but you got to do it quick. I hated it. Last year and the year before, there were people who were like, can I still get in? And I was like, it's closed and it's not completely up to me and I can't get you in. And I hated that. I hate being the bearer of bad news. So yes, Andy and his kilt for sure. That's the picture I've got at our Ardalanish. We're going back to our Ardalanish, of course. And then Deb says she loved them both, Laura and Andy. They were awesome. And then, oh, Lydia's got pics with Andy. There you go. Pretty cool. So all of the good things are happening. I've seen some comments. So this is my mid-coast sweater that I knit up from Jen Steingass. The link is down in the show notes below. And look at this. I was looking at colorways to kind of mimic the ones that I'm wearing. Sea Glass and Monarch. Hello. Your name's written all over that. I love these colors. They're so, so pretty. You could just use like a snow white in here or another color. It's 3 colors. It is not a difficult pattern. Jen Steingass patterns are wonderful. They're not for a beginner knitter. You do need to know some decreases. You need to know a little bit about short rows. I do German short rows because I love them. But if you haven't knit a sweater yet, I recommend you do a beautifully basic tee first to understand sweater construction, and go ahead and do these fiberside chats. You've got Jen coming up in June, and then you've got Ann Bud tomorrow, all about sweaters, to give you a little bit of information about sweaters, but you can knit this sweater. It's not hard. If I can do it, trust me, anybody can do it. The link is down below in the show notes if you're interested in the Midcoast sweater by Jen Steingass. She's a great designer. I've done, let's see, we call it affectionately the F-squared sweater, the Feather and Fern or Fern and Feather. I can never keep it straight. This one. And then I also did the Dark Water. I think those are the only 3 Jen Steingass patterns I've done, but they were absolutely delightful, delightful sweaters. And then speaking about Scotland, one of the other things I found before we wrap up, I just have to show you really quickly. Oh, Kim, it is the Midcoast. The link is down below in the show notes. So you can just click there and get the link to the Ravelry pattern. So one of the things that we did, well, we did the first year we went to Scotland, and the second year, and we'll be doing it again. We always go to Iona, which is known as the birthplace of Celtic Christianity. It's been dubbed the thinnest place on earth, thin between kind of the spiritual world and the physical world. And the first year that we went, we had beautiful weather in Scotland the whole time, except for Iona. The one day that we were going to be outside a lot, and then it came raining down. Well, you guys might remember I had these in the shop at one time. I don't right now. I might get some more of them, but I have these. These are great little placemats. And this one, Wish You Were Here. And it reminds me so much of the trek through Iona with the Yarn Use, the 1 mile hike that we think was more like 3 miles. Do we still believe that was about 3 miles if you were there? Let me know in the comments if you thought it was more like 3 miles. But Iona, and then I love these placemats. I need to take them downstairs and start using them. They're so fun. Look, with the coos, you know you want to pet some coos. And there's the little sheepy right there as well. I love these. If you're interested in some of these, I can probably get them for you. More sheeps. Look at that. And they all have like these little sayings on them. Bad hair day. And this one, this reminds me of Yarn Use anyway, because they're used and they're all piled up. Olive Ewe. How cute is that? And then Universe. See, this person gets our humor. All about you. It's all about you. And it is all about the Yarn Use. You guys have created an amazing community, and I am ever so grateful for it. So we'll be highlighting that community Wednesday night. Don't forget, virtual knit, crochet, spin, and weave in. Bamboo Shoots Knit Along wrapping up next Saturday. Still time to get in. And all the fun things happening in the Yarn Use. I'm Michelle again with Olive Two Ewe Studios, typically here every single Saturday morning at 9:30 Eastern time. We invite you to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. Y'all, if you're watching either live or later, please give us a thumbs up. It really makes a difference. Share the podcast with your friends and in your fiber-related groups on Facebook and Instagram. It would really be much appreciated as the community grows. The more the merrier, the more use we got, the more fun we have. So thank you so much. Have a great Saturday, and I will definitely, on purpose, see you in the Yarn Use. Take care. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.